What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
Established over 100 years ago, Watkins Books is one of the world's oldest and leading independent bookshops specializing in esoterica. We have the widest selection of esoteric books in the UK, and our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to assist you in a unique ambience of our shop. So come and visit us in the heart of London as we're open every day.
The More Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines, available for download on all major digital platforms. The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now listening to the UK's only alternative late night talk show, and I'm Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with Sara Chetkin. Now, Sara was born in Florida in 1979, and at the age of 15, she was diagnosed with severe scoliosis and spent much of the next 15 years traveling the world, seeking healing and spiritual insights. These travels and explorations are the basis for her book, The Healing Curve. In 2001, she graduated from Skidmore College with a Bachelor of Arts, and in 2007, she earned a Master of Science in Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. She is a Ro-Hun therapist and ordained minister with the Church of Wisdom, Delphi University. She now lives in New York State with her husband and their son, Adrian. Sara Chetkin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
It's great to have you on. Now, Sara, just for the audience, just tell us a bit about your background in the sense of where did this story start for you?
For me, the story starts at my diagnosis with scoliosis when I was 15. It was a very severe curve, so we had to think fast about what we wanted to do, and just being alternative in general in my family, we decided to go for a natural course. And that just sort of catapulted us into this long journey of healing and traveling and meditating and doing inner work. And because of all of the phenomena I experienced along the way, and just the teachings I received from healers and from my own higher self, from spirit, I just felt the need to put it all down on paper. And actually, it just began as a journaling project for myself. But as I was working with the material, I decided to try it out as a book. So.
Excellent, excellent. And I'm so glad to have you on as well, because this is a fascinating story on so many levels. And just for the audience, though, that may not know, what is scoliosis?
It's a curvature of the spine. And, it varies depending on the person and just the progress of the disease. Usually what happens is you catch it in childhood, and then, you can do things to work towards correcting it through adolescence. And then, usually it slows down as an adult and then picks up again in your 70s or 80s. I didn't have any kind of curvature until I was 15. So my situation was a little different. And normally, had I gone to a doctor, I think they probably would have immediately recommended surgery because of how severe the curve was. But it was at a chiropractor's office, and she's an amazing chiropractor, and we trusted her completely. So she said, no, don't do that. It's not a good course because nobody can ever get in there and work on it again. And so I've been fine. I just take care of it on my own and, do the spiritual work and the physical work and work with the practitioners, and I'm good.
So what at the worst case, what can scoliosis do to people?
Worst case would be paralysis, which I know someone who actually was paralyzed from scoliosis, but he had surgery and they were able to, he walks now. So they can do a lot. If it gets that bad, they can do a lot. But that's really the worst. And then also you can start to have problems with organs because the spine is not, it loses its flexibility. You can get arthritis, and then often it collapses on the lungs because people start to hunch forward like this. It really depends on where the curve is, what gets affected. But those would be two undesirable consequences.
Absolutely. So, but at the time when you were 15 and diagnosed, right. Had your world just fell apart completely?
It did, especially emotionally. I was really afraid, and it's funny when you receive a diagnosis. I think the human spirit is amazing at taking in this information and processing it and choosing a course of action. I wanted to move forward right away and begin the process of healing. I didn't sit back and say, well, that's it, my life is over. I just took it for what it was and began looking for healers and working with my parents to travel and find people. And it wasn't easy at first. And I used to have a lot of fears about having children, about getting older, what would happen to me, would I be paralyzed? Where would I be right now? I'm 35 now, and I've had 2 children at home, no problems. So I think it's possible to live with this condition and not have to go through the trauma of surgery. But I know that it's always there if for some reason I need it, but I don't anticipate that.
Right. But do you think at the time when you were diagnosed, you were sort of defining your life by scoliosis?
Yeah, that's what the book is about. Is that the book is about overcoming these fears around illness or around whatever it might be in your life, not just scoliosis. But for my particular journey, it was about transforming my life out of this model where every decision I made, every move I made, everything that I did was about healing scoliosis. I didn't have a life outside of that in the beginning. That was a blessing because it brought me to all of these healers, and it showed me how important a spiritual life is, and how just incredible meditation can be, and qigong and other spiritual practices. And that part of it was so amazing. But at the same time, if you start defining your life around a disease, what do you have left? And my whole approach was, after this is done, then I can live. Right now I'm doing this, then I can live. but you're missing your life in the meantime.
Yeah, yeah, and you can relate that to so many different scenarios, and I don't want to take it away from yours because
No, you
this is really
can't. That's the point. Absolutely. I mean, if you are struggling with, financial issues, if you are struggling with emotional things, anxiety, if you're just having family drama, everything is, I'll live my life when this is over. I'll be happy when this goes right. Everything, our happiness, we put so many conditions on our happiness. And
Yep.
I discuss it in the healing curve a lot. That's, you can be happy right now. It doesn't matter what's going on. You can be present and alive and fully peaceful and joyful in your life right now.
It's so true, and even as the host of this show, I recognized something in this interview when I knew I was going to interview you, because guests come on board. I don't know they're coming on board. They're booked in for me sometimes. And your book lands on my desk as a PDF. I'm like, okay, this looks interesting. And it resonated so much with me in the moment now, because I've got that issue right now where I'm living in a place I don't want to be at. Yet there are lots of positivities for being here, but I've been resisting it so much and saying, yeah, I'll be happy when, I've made the money from what I'm going to do and I can move away, and then, I'll be in a better place. And hang on a minute, what about now?
Right. Yeah, you really can't resist life. If you're resisting anything in your life, then you're resisting everything. It's, if you're in that energy of resistance, then nothing can come through. If I'm having anxiety, the first thing you do, what do you do when you don't feel good? Immediately you get into resistance. Well, now you're just resisting emotion in general, the whole spectrum. Nothing can come through, and you're just stuck in this battle with whatever's happening, within you or outside of you. You're locked into that, and you don't see other things. You don't see other possibilities. All of your focus gets narrowed onto this one scenario, and you're stuck there. And sometimes it's scary to break that mold and look for other possibilities. I think in a way we get comfortable in our boxes, and then we can't find the pathway out.
That is so true. And okay then, so what is a pathway out for people then in that moment when they have that aha moment and they realize that they're struggling and they're fighting it, and but they know these great sayings that what you resist persists.
Right.
How do you get out of that?
Well, a lot of it comes down to belief systems. So if you have a belief system about, oh gosh, I don't know, anything. The one I like to use is, say you feel that the world is sort of a dangerous place. There's a lot of crazy people, and everything is scary, right? You go outside, there's criminals, whatever. Some people have this belief. So this is funny. I just gave a lecture on this topic, and I was talking right before I gave the lecture, I had seen this show about this guy, and it was, I don't know if you have that in the UK, but it's a show called Extreme Homes, and this guy had extreme security systems,
right.
and his job was designing these security systems for homes. He had crazy things. He had, when someone invades the house, these little things drop down from the ceiling and they release mist. And it's just water, but it's designed to scare the person into thinking they're going to be gassed or something. And so hopefully they run away. If they don't run away, then you can be in your panic room or whatever, and you can push a little button, and then another thing comes down from the ceiling which actually does release gas to knock them out, right? And then in the panic room, he had like rocket launchers, grenades. I mean, just crazy stuff that you would never need, right? So that to me is a belief system that the world is this dangerous place, and how does that person create from there? So when you do that, when you have this kind of belief system, that's going to affect your thoughts and your perceptions, and of course your perceptions influence how you see the world. So if your perspective is, say, like this big before you have that belief, when you start to get this belief system in your head, the world is a dangerous place, it affects your perception. And if that affects you emotionally, if that's a trigger for you, then you're going to start seeing everywhere you look examples of the world as a dangerous place. Not because it is, but because you're like this now, And when you see that example, slowly, now you're looking through a little pinpoint that only says to you, world is dangerous, I'm in danger. So everywhere you look, that's what you see. Now, if you can find that belief system and shift it, heal it, work with it, transform it, then your perception opens up again. And that's when you see the pathway out of your struggles, because you see life as it is. You can start to see all the paths. If you're looking like this, how many paths do you see? Just the one right in front of you. So it's really about going back and healing these beliefs. Where did they come from? When was the first moment that taught you this idea that, for our example, the world is dangerous, And if you can go there and heal it, you can open your perception and shift your life.
Absolutely, and I think as well, you've mentioned this in other interviews probably, but by losing everything, sometimes you gain everything. I know that's a saying that's been used a number of times, but if it's so true, because when you lose everything, it really gets you into touch with, well, if I'm not my assets, I'm not my clothes, I'm not my title. Well, well, who am I? And
right.
That's when it comes down to, well, I'm an eternal soul that's chosen to have a human experience. I am love.
And we hope it doesn't get that far. I mean, that's the extreme indeed. And people learn amazing things from that. And it's incredible when you see that you can exist without so much. You're still here, alive, ready and willing, and you have nothing. That's an incredible lesson, but we don't want to have to lose everything in order to shift, right? So that's where meditation is so wonderful, because you can get in touch with that piece that's beyond all of our definitions and begin to sort of bring that energy forward into your life more and more, because there's a stillness behind all of our thoughts and our beliefs. There's a wisdom there. I mean, some people call it the higher self or your soul or whatever you might call it. It's always there in the background observing, and meditation brings us in touch with it.
What do you call it?
I change on a regular basis what I name things, not for some moralistic purpose really, but just because one thing feels good for me, and then I go to something else, and So any of those work for me. The stillness, I think, is what I'm calling it right now.
Yeah, that would resonate with a lot of people, especially with authors like Eckhart Tolle that have, come onto the stage and use that, and it resonates with a lot of people, and you can't really put words on this, can you?
Mm-mm. Well, and that's a good reason to always shift the word, right? Because it doesn't have a definition.
No.
Isn't that Lao Tzu says that, oh gosh, I don't know. I'm terrible at quoting. I won't even try.
No, but I know. Yeah, I know. We know. I know what you mean as well. So tell us about your journey then as well. So okay. So you sort of grew up in a very open-minded, sort of spiritual family in a sense that were against conventional, not against conventional medicine, but really didn't want you to go down that path. Wanted you for a more holistic path to try to help yourself. How did you how did you get to travel, and what did you find on your travels?
Well, it's amazing how the synchronicity is just so incredible, and when you really are in the right space and the right time, it's like alchemy, everything just kind of comes together. So we would just meet people who knew other people who would be these incredible healers that we just had to go see, or they would say, oh, you have to take her here, or you really need to go meet this person. And then it just sort of triggers another journey and another journey. And, we were in psychic surgeons in Brazil. We were with the Maori in New Zealand. We had incredible healers just right here in the States. There's amazing healing going on all over the world, and you don't even have to travel to exotic places. It's everywhere. I think it's really more about opening up to the possibility of finding them. Opening up to the possibility that these things exist. It goes back to how open is your perception? How much are you willing to experience?
And what parts of the world did you travel to, in a sense?
In Brazil, we were in Brazil a lot, and Brazil is amazing in terms of what they're willing to embrace as a population. And I know there's a lot of controversy here and there around these healers, but they really help people, and whether it's real or fake, it doesn't really matter much if people are recovering from their problems, And so we were in Brasilia and Sao Paulo, and with John of God, with another surgeon called Dr. Geddes, who has since passed away. He used these long needles, almost like a knitting needle. I mean, the width of a knitting needle, and maybe like this long. And then he would insert those into the body and breaking up energy blocks, I guess. And it's not supposed to be painful. For me, it was very painful. I think because my spine was he was one of the first persons to work on me. So I think I was just so blocked that, to break through that energy was really difficult. But it opened me up to other people's work. I think every step along the way has built upon the previous step, and I just continue to open and to work.
Yeah.
We also traveled to New Zealand a couple times to see the Maori, and they do an incredible body work. It's not Lomi Lomi is Hawaii. This one is, I think it's Romi Romi or something. I'm sorry. We never really mention. I don't even mention the name in the book, but it's a very intense body work, and if you are in the beginning stages of learning it, then you really do the hard body work. But then Papa, who was the teacher and was a master at this work, would barely touch you. So it just really depended on who you were working with, and they use everything. I mean, he used rocks on me. He used these big, like, sticks like this to break into the tissue in my back. It was a lot of interesting work.
Yeah.
But I know now. I mean, I'm so well trained now to identify who is a good body worker and who isn't. I mean, right away, I've had so much experience that you can tell, is someone using energy and their spirituality to do this work, or are they just kind of treating my body like a machine? That's something you want to look for in practitioners.
And I guess as well, there was a lot of surrendering to trust as well, that everything will be okay
every step of the way. I mean, if you've got a guy coming at you with these long metal needles and shoving them into your back, or this big Maori guy coming at you with a log essentially to break through your tissue, it's all you have is trust. That's it. You just dive in.
Yeah.
But there's something about people like that, people at that level doing that kind of work, that is so, they resonate so much peace and so much confidence and just serenity that you feel embraced when you're around them anyway. So it's like being at a different vibration or something. You don't, trust only comes into it before and after. When you're in the moment, I would have let him do anything. He could have come at me with a knife to cut me open. It didn't matter. I just felt completely at peace.
So what advice would you give to people then who are on a sort of journey that have health issues, that want to take a more holistic path to those health issues?
Well, I would start. Now, looking back, I would start from working within and really working with yourself and seeking somebody out who will help you go deeper into your belief systems. In the healing curve, I talk about Ro-Hun therapy and how amazing that is for breaking through old patterns. And that to me is an essential part of healing. And then, from there, you're already doing the work. You're already sort of creating the path for yourself towards balance and well-being. So within that, you're going to just come across people who can help you. I never heard a story where someone went out really seeking, I'm going to find this amazing healer. No, I mean, usually it just crosses their path through synchronicity. So those are the kinds of things you want to look for. What is life bringing to you? You know, what's coming to you without a lot of effort on your part? You know, take
Yeah.
that. I mean, that's how we found everything. We didn't go out looking for, now I'm going to find a Maori healer. I really want to go to New Zealand. You know, it came through life. And I think that's a really important piece, is trusting life and just walking the path. And when something feels interesting or good, you know, follow it for whatever reason. It may seem ridiculous at the time, but you never know.
Absolutely, and you went with your intuition and your gut feeling to do this. What do you think the symptom of your issue was mirroring back to you in this life, in a sense? Have you looked at that as well? That how certain issues and you know, whatever it may be, the problem that we have in health-wise, it's telling us something else.
Yeah, you know, a lot of fear and anger that I've had to really work on through the years. It's interesting, you know, it's never really about getting rid of those things, but it's more about mastering that. You know, maybe in this lifetime, just in general, my work is about mastering those lower energies, fear, anger. Those are the two main ones. And when I tune into my back, those are the things that come up a lot. And I work with them, and, you know, I could create any number of scenarios around why I have that issue, but it's just, that's the energy. You know, we live in a dualistic world, so there is the good and the bad, and you can't just have all good. The bad is never going to disappear or go away, but you learn how to transmute it, you know, and work with it, rise above it, allow it the space, but it doesn't take over anymore. So anyway, that's been my experience, because I've done so much Ro-Hun and I've done so much work on myself, and I've seen one synchronicity after another, and I've mastered so much of my anxiety that I had as a teenager, but it's still there. You know, it doesn't completely go away. It's there, you know, it still creeps up in moments, and it's not that I have to be vigilant, but you know, that's my thing. For someone else, it's something else. Insecurity about themselves, or feeling unworthy, or I don't have those issues, but I have this fear that's always there. Do you know what I mean? Not
I do.
that I'm experiencing fear all the time, but if I'm going to have a problem, it's going to be fear.
Yeah, no, I do, and like you say, there's so many people out there that have these. Well, we all do in some sense these issues. It's just we ignore them, I suppose, because we don't know how to heal them. Sometimes we think, well, if we looked into it and, you know, went deep into what, you know, the layers above that may be the reason for us feeling this way, it's, you know, we wouldn't be able to get there.
Well, I mean, that's where things like meditation come in, because maybe you don't dive into that fear or that anger or the insecurity, but you get more in touch with this other piece, you know, that's really the truth of you, that isn't touched by fear at all, and isn't in danger of falling into that, you know, beyond the duality. What is the thing that's beyond this dualistic experience, that's just observing this, you know? And through meditation, you get in touch with that, so you find strength through that. I just thought of another thing I like to call it too, is just consciousness. Sure. You know, we're all consciousness, and that's the reality. So in meditation, you are working with that energy. And, you know, what is consciousness? Can you hurt consciousness? Can it be killed or destroyed? No, you know, it's just awareness. And that's the truth. So, and this is really interesting too, and I can't take credit for it. It's another author, but the idea that you exist, your body and your mind exist within this consciousness. You know, you don't exist within your body and mind, but your body and mind exist within you. So everything that's happening to this body and to this mind is just, it's like a movie. You know, it's not the whole thing. It's not the sum total of who you are. So when this body dies and this mind shifts and changes, you'll still be consciousness. You'll still be here in the same place. Nothing is going to go anywhere either. I mean, consciousness just is. And within that, we have this incredible experience, this incredible world. So that's what you want to, that's what you want to work with. If you don't have the ability to kind of dive in there and heal these other things, at least do that part.
Yes, and listen to our intuition and what it's telling us when we do look at these parts. And it's so true what you say there as well. I think that's true, that this is a movie, that we are in control of that movie, that, we can drive it in the direction we want. And that's what you did with such, a shocking, discovery that you had. Look at what you've done with your life. Look how you've driven it. Look how you've manifested the life that you've got now. And did you think you had to go on that journey with all these healers to get there?
I do. Yes. I mean, I think I had to go through the whole journey of scoliosis to bring myself to the place where I'm actually willing to live my life like this, to sort of step back and, work on myself when I have emotional problems, when I'm dealing with problems outside of myself, because outside of yourself isn't really, I mean, it's nothing, it's an illusion. So you can't go out there and try to fix it, stepping back and trying to fix this first and then moving forward like that. I mean, that's something I've learned along the way. Even the body is still outside of yourself. And, I would argue too that it's not so much that you can control the movie. I mean, the movie is there, right? Everything is already here. And together, we all are creating it. And we were all part of this consciousness, right? So that's a good way to understand oneness. And when you take away the body and the mind, there's just consciousness left. Well, we're all of that. We're that together. And we're different experiences of that consciousness, forming this world. So I can't really control the world because you're creating it too. And I can't control you. I mean, we're all here together creating it. But what I can control is my movement through it. What I choose to focus on, what I choose to experience within it. So I'm moving through this illusion or this program or this matrix or whatever you want to call it. And I can focus on whatever I want. I can create it. I can create my experience through my belief systems. So things might be happening all around me, but I don't experience it because my belief system says the world is this beautiful, balanced place. I'm in the right place at the right time. I meet the people I need to accomplish what I want. These are my belief systems. So there could be a war going on over there, but for me, I'm in peace.
But the war could be actually closer to home than that as well. The war could be with yourself. You could be in so much pain because you're not happy with the circumstances in your life. Could you apply the same thing where you change your thinking, you change what you draw to you in the movie?
Yes, definitely. Thoughts are interesting. There's a lot of talk out there about thoughts being so important and so every thought you're creating with your thoughts. Well, it's more like you're creating with your emotions. If a thought means nothing unless there's an emotion with it, right? I mean, how many thoughts do you have a day? Do they all get manifested? I hope not. I mean, that would be chaos. It's the thoughts that you
truly believe in, yeah.
Right, that stick with you, that go round and round in your head all the time, that you truly believe, like you said. Those are the thoughts to look for and to transform if they need it.
And those ones we believe in could be quite negative in some respects, even though I don't know if I believe in too much negativity, but it could not be the desired result that you want. That's what I mean. Right.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's we always have a balance, you're right. It comes back to what you believe is positive and what you believe is negative.
Well, something interesting in the book as well was that, and we're sort of diving all around the place here, but that's okay. Was when you describe the moment staring at an X-ray of your spine and feeling very loving towards it, which I thought was great. No, rather than sort of, anger towards the issue in your body.
Yeah, that was a really transforming moment for me, because I realized how, and we have this, especially this, these words and this vocabulary around cancer, for example. You have to battle and fight, and well, I realized how much anger and hatred I had towards my back. I didn't recognize it until I had the opposite emotion. And then suddenly I realized, how am I going to heal something that I feel nothing but anger towards? That doesn't work. That doesn't make sense. I have to nurture and love my body and bring that kind of energy into my system, not fight, and anger, and I'm gonna conquer this, and and feeding that fear. So I think that's another important step too. How do you feel about your body? How do you feel about whatever imbalances are there? What energy or what emotions are you carrying around that is constantly feeding this imbalance?
And I suppose that could be the same as loving yourself in the moment. If you're not happy with a part of your body, because the media tell us not to be, or it's someone else's reaction out there that says you shouldn't be this way, yeah.
Right.
You can't be like that. You've got to just accept in the moment that you are the person you are, and to love yourself, and then change can happen.
Right. Yeah. Well, again, it comes down to resistance. If you're resisting anything at all, then you're resisting everything. So how will you shift? How will you change in that state of, just tension?
Would you say, this is difficult for me to say this to you really, but you seem very spiritually open-minded. Would you say then that scoliosis, you can look at it now as being a bit of a gift to develop you to being the person that you are now? Had you not had scoliosis, you would not have gone down this journey and have inspired the people that you have who have read the book so far, and who will read the book.
Yeah, I do see it that way. I don't know. I think if I hadn't had scoliosis, I would have just, well, I have no idea what I would have done, but I don't think I would have delved so deeply into myself. And I don't think I would have I never would have written the book. I never would be on this path towards teaching and lecturing, which has been really joyful, a really wonderful piece of my life. We come to we experience struggles for a reason. If you never had any struggle, you would never build your character. You would never learn how to transmute, how to transform. You would, you wouldn't be here, right? It's just part of life. What is my teacher I had? She used to always say, test and challenge, peace and enjoyment. Test and challenge, peace and enjoyment. That's the nature of life. We grow from there. The peace and enjoyment is nice, but there's no growth.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And when we do see people who are having such easy life, such, everything seems so quiet and mundane for them. Who knows what they've been up to in a past life?
Yeah, well, even in this life, my husband always says, you don't see. I'm terrible at quoting. I shouldn't do it, but it's. The only normal people are people you don't know well, So you might think someone's having a very peaceful time. You have no idea what's going on within. No one, you don't know what's in someone else's heart.
No, and the fights they may have to go through daily just to, put that smile on their face as well, because they're struggling, and just because spirituality doesn't come across everyone's path, that doesn't mean that. Maybe in this life they are not here to be awake, in a sense. They're here to have the experience they're having, not just for them, but for the people around them as well.
Well, we're all spirit, so we're all going in that direction, regardless of whether we consciously embrace it or not. Everybody is marching towards the oneness, or moving towards awareness. Some at different paces than others. That's the only difference. But that's who we all are. It's not like the guy on Wall Street is not consciousness and I am. We're all consciousness. So
yeah, Absolutely. And I think a big part of your book as well is humility. Just tell us about how, your path to this as well, and how it's, in your sense, is true happiness.
Well, it's not just humility. Humility is a beautiful thing, but I think all of these sort of all of these values and all of these ideals that we put forward, humility, grace, generosity, any kind of saintly moral, really comes down to one thing. I mean, it's about a state of being, right? So humility is not a behavior. It's not, you can't go out there and act humbly. I mean, that doesn't even make sense, because just the very thought, now I'm acting humble, is not humility, right? So it's about coming to a state of being. I mean, we look to the spiritual masters because they embody all of these qualities that we want, but we can't emulate them. We have to come to them as well. And how do you get there? I mean, what is that state of being? It's getting back in touch with this consciousness, right? This idea of oneness, the truth of who we are. When you're there on a regular basis, when that's your MO, you begin to behave in these ways, right? You begin to behave humbly. You begin to, let me explain it better. Excuse me, sorry. So when you're in touch with this consciousness, you feel safe, right? You feel powerful. You feel like you cannot be harmed. Now that's when humility comes in. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about true humility. It's not about lowering yourself. It's about feeling empowered enough to behave in a way that we would describe as humble. But you feel powerful. You feel like there's nothing that can touch you. So it's just a really beautiful place to be. And I came to that through an argument that I was having with my husband, because I wanted to leave, and we just had this really big argument, and this is in the healing curve. And we were, talking about separating, and it was just a silly argument. And I called my friend, and I didn't want to be there anymore. And she told me to stay and to ask for guidance and to look up, and look up as in ask for help from spirit, and really move through this with more grace than I normally would. And I followed her advice, and I did that. And when I went back into the room where Brecht was sitting, and he was still fuming and very angry, suddenly I realized everything that he was saying to me, very hurtful things, none of it mattered to me. I felt so embraced. I felt so strong and so just joyful and empowered that it didn't matter what he said. And I realized in that moment, this is humility. See, I'm acting in a way that is humble. He's saying, I hate you, I want to leave you. I'm saying, I love you, you're so beautiful. I mean, how is that for turn the other cheek, right? I mean, that was incredible to me, because inside I felt so strong. I felt so safe. And I was in that moment in touch with that stillness, that consciousness. Somehow by the grace of God, I flipped into that in that moment. Now I don't have that every day, but that's what we're working towards. And that's what the masters have. They have achieved that connection. And so their behavior demonstrates that. They feel safe, so they act humbly. They feel strong, so they can, step aside and let someone else go forward. Everything that they talk about, even in the Bible, for example, all of these behaviors come from a place of empowerment, not from a place of weakness, or, the meek shall inherit the earth. It's not from that place of meekness. It's from a place of strength.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic answer there. Now, we're getting towards the end of the interview here as well. One subject I wanted to touch on as well is Rohan. Just tell the audience a bit about the breakthroughs with Rohan and what Rohan is as well.
Rohan is a form of therapy that helps you to go back and to heal these belief systems that we've been talking about. You put the patient into a meditative state, And then you sort of just start asking questions. Anything that this is a very basic description, but anything that comes up, you can process, right? So you can slap some eyes on it and look at the emotions that are there, within this image. A lot of times we work with images because it's just easier to get into these touchy subjects if we're looking at something, instead of dealing with the raw emotion. And you can create a story there, but that storyline always relates back to life. And then you can move back into the past, into your own past, and see these key moments where you made decisions about the nature of reality. And from there, of course, you create your whole perception of reality and thus your life. And Rohan is just a very fast and effective way to break through those belief systems and create new belief systems, heal them, and really change your life in very recognizable, powerful ways. It's amazing. Sometimes you get Ro-Hun and physical symptoms disappear that have been there for years, or just suddenly, you meet the person that you were supposed to be with, or you leave the person that you weren't supposed to be with, or you just shift your whole life. You suddenly have the courage to leave a job that you hate, or to go for a job that you've always wanted, but you were afraid. Things start to open up for you because you're healing all of this gunk, basically, that we carry around with us all the time.
And I'm guessing. Well, I might be wrong here. Whether Rohan is from a sort of Asian influence, but you've also gone and done. You've got a master's in acupuncture and Oriental medicine. So and how are you using that right now as well? Just out of curiosity.
Right now, I'm not using it so much. We started having kids, and I just stepped back from the practice, and now I have a 2-year-old and a 5-month-old, so I'm really working more on other things. We're teaching a class this summer. I've been giving some lectures, writing some articles, more having fun with that right now. So, but I always use it just in my own life. I think the philosophy and the just the entire approach of Chinese medicine has influenced my life in ways that I don't even recognize anymore. It's just how I approach health in general.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot to say about that as well, and it's always very interesting when someone like yourself, has gone and experienced all these wonderful places, and I'm sure one day you'll go back again. If you had to summarize the book in a sense, what would you say is one of the most important messages of the book?
I would say probably the topic that we've covered so much today, following your own intuition, going within, not being afraid to take the road less traveled, for example, really just always going within, stirring things up inside of there and breaking the mold a little bit. And also, getting in touch with that consciousness, that stillness that we've been talking about, and not worrying so much about, well, I want to be this kind of person, I want to be that kind of person. In order to fit into this mold, I want to act these ways. And spirituality is not about being humble, being generous, being loving, being all of these things. It's about conquering your own demons, working, transforming, transmuting, going within and getting in touch with this higher part of ourselves. And that's spirituality, facing yourself. That's the most important part of spirituality to me that I found, not going to a center or taking classes, or these things are fun, but you want to always bring it back to yourself. You want to always be an adventurer in your own mind, your own psyche, finding out about who you truly are. I think that's more important than any class, any guided meditation, any guides in spirit you might have, anything like that. That's all fun toys, like my husband would say, cookies for your brain, to play with it. But it's not really getting you closer to oneness. It's fun, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to have fun. So by all means, don't forsake those things, but work with yourself, work with your inner world.
Well, Sara Chetkin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on The More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.